Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of our graduates, their families and friends, and I would like to begin by thanking everyone concerned, our trustees, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, friends and benefactors, for all you do to help us at IWP to provide the unique education that we offer. Today's the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And while there's a lot that one can say about this, I think it's appropriate that we should remember those who suffered from those terrible terrorist attacks. I think we should remember with gratitude those who, the first responders who tried to save everybody, to our armed forces and our intelligence community, our non-governmental organizations, and everybody who has contributed to the war against the radical Islamist terrorists, and who have given us the extraordinary last 2 decades worth of extraordinary peace, all things considered. I think that we should be also reflecting at a time when so many people have been denigrating our country and our political system here, that we should recognize that we have to compare America not to heaven. We have to recognize our faults, but do what has been in our national tradition to do, which has been to try to atone for them and to try then to improve our society, and then to compare America again to what is out there in the world, and reflect upon the fact that those of us who have been born in this country and who are citizens of this country are the luckiest people in the world. It has been my custom over the past 3 decades as president to use the occasion of commencement to explain to the families and friends of our graduates the distinctive qualities of the school that they have attended. Today I'm going to leave that responsibility to our new president, Dr. James Anderson, whom I will introduce momentarily. Before I do that, however, I would like to take this opportunity to share one last thought with all of you, and especially with our graduates. And this concerns not the professional education that we have given them, but the ethos of this school. And this concerns character development and moral leadership. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, to educate a man without educating him in morals is to create a menace to society. There is great wisdom in this. We at IWP teach our students the arts of statecraft. These are the instruments of national power. And just as liberty can be abused and transformed into license, power can also be abused. We at IWP don't want our graduates to become abusers of power. This is why we teach Western moral philosophy and applied ethics. We want our graduates to develop the capacity for prudential moral reasoning as it applies to the development and the implementation of policies that use those instruments of power. And this means being familiar with such things as just war doctrine. Our students must know the moral ingredients necessary to achieve genuine peace. They must be able to distinguish between civilizations that are based on objective moral standards and those that are based on the idea that might makes right, and the ruthless doctrine that posits the idea of the end justifying the means. As important as these concepts are, it may well be more important that our graduates be conscious of the necessity of strengthening their character. This is the process of making right rather than wrong choices, doing the right thing when no one is looking, developing the habit of doing so, since habits become destiny, and actively cultivating personal and civic virtues. It is important to recall those virtues. I like to recall the ones that General MacArthur articulated in his valedictory address at West Point, his famous Duty, Honor, Country speech. He said that there are important virtues that people in uniform must cultivate. They include courage, humility, fortitude, self-control, purity of heart, purity of motive, compassion, having high and noble goals, modesty, honesty, reliability, patriotic self-abnegation, invincible determination, and heroic self-sacrifice. We at IWP believe that these virtues are not just for those in uniform, but for everyone involved in the most sensitive functions of government for which we prepare our students. As many of you have heard me say, we at IWP believe that there are two kinds of people: careerists and mission-oriented people. The careerist wants the promotion, the money, the credit, the glory, the power, and the bureaucratic empire. The problem is that it's all about him. And too often, the careerist will risk sacrificing his honor to get ahead. The mission-oriented person puts the mission first, puts first service to family, community, neighbor, customer, one's organization, and one's country. This is what we call serving a cause higher than oneself. As for the mission-oriented person, we hold that he or she will get most of the things that the careerist wants, but will never sacrifice his or her honor to get them. So we have high hopes that you graduates will be mission-oriented and will elevate the caliber of moral leadership that is all too often sadly lacking in our nation and the world. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the new president of IWP, the Honorable James H. Anderson. James has come to IWP, he's been here just with us for just a couple of months, after a distinguished record in the academic world and in public service, and is someone who embodies those virtues about which I spoke. A graduate of Amherst College with his doctorate from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, he served in the Marine Corps for 3 years as an intelligence officer. He has taught at several academic institutions, including the National Defense University, George Washington University, the Marine Corps University, the George C. Marshall Center for European Security Studies in Germany. From 2012 to 2015, he was the academic dean at the Marine Corps War College, and for the next 3 years served as vice president for academic affairs for the entire Marine Corps University, where he was responsible for the education of all of the U.S. Marines. He has held a variety of policy-making positions in the Pentagon over the years, including head of the Middle East desk in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and from 2018 to 2020, 2 Senate-confirmed positions: Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy, Plans, and Capabilities, and Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. His tour at the Pentagon culminated as acting Undersecretary for Policy, the highest defense policy position underneath the Secretary of Defense. In his Assistant Secretary capacity, he was responsible for the development of the National Defense Strategy of the United States, where he made signal contributions, among other things, to the nation's radical shift to a more security-minded posture toward a rising communist China. Among his other responsibilities were the development of policy concerning forces and contingency plans necessary to implement defense strategy, nuclear deterrence, missile defense policy, and security cooperation plans and policies. It is not easy to find a national security-minded scholar practitioner like James. They do not grow on trees. It is precisely a background such as his that we at IWP prize for service on our faculty and in our academic leadership. But on top of such top-level national security policy experience and academic credentials, our search for a successor, to me, involved finding someone well-versed in American founding principles and the Western Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian moral philosophy and applied ethics. James possesses all these attributes, and we have been blessed to have found him, and that he, in the midst of all of the different opportunities he could have chosen in his new incarnation in life, that he chose to take on this responsibility at IWP. It's my great pleasure to welcome him to the podium. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, John, for that kind introduction. It is your leadership and your vision which has made all of this possible. I would like to extend my thanks as well to our distinguished faculty who have drawn upon their experience to teach and mentor our wonderful students. Thanks as well to the staff members who make the operations of our school possible, including this wonderful ceremony. Thanks to our trustees, some of whom have come quite some distance today, for their outstanding leadership and support. And thank you for all the supporters who are here today, including our distinguished guests who we will hear from in a few minutes. And I would be remiss, of course, if I did not extend thanks to our graduates who will soon be walking across this great stage, and thank them for their hard work and their cheerful perseverance. Today, of course, is the solemn 20th anniversary of 9/11. A day that will remain forever seared in our nation's consciousness. These attacks, as well as the recent debacle in Afghanistan, are sobering reminders of the urgent need for ethically well-grounded and intellectually well-rounded leaders in the fields of national security, intelligence, and international affairs. The need for such leaders also points to the vital and enduring importance of our school's mission. Allow me to say a few words about this mission in the larger context of what it means to our institution, our graduates, and our nation. Of course, every educational institution claims to be unique in some way, but in our case, this claim has the virtue of actually being true. Our mission sets us apart from other institutions of higher learning. Too many of these other institutions have strayed far from their roots and become preoccupied with political correctness and intellectual fads. Our mission provides a deep moat, if you will, against such distractions. Our mission states that we are dedicated to developing leaders with a sound understanding of international realities and the ethical conduct of statecraft, based on the knowledge and appreciation of the principles of the American political economy and the Western moral tradition. These words have been carefully chosen to reflect our institutional DNA. The value of having a clearly articulated mission statement such as this cannot be overstated. The mission statement drives everything we do, guides all our educational priorities, and provides a call to action. There is no mistaking about what we seek to achieve with our graduates. Through our courses, we have sought to educate our students to understand the world as it really is, not as some may wish it to be. They have come to understand the nature of foreign cultures and ideologies, the challenges posed in international relations, especially by hostile powers, and the limits of what is possible in foreign policy. Our students have learned about the perils of utopianism, as well as the temptation to apply rigid ideological templates to address the world's most thorniest problems. In addition to grappling with the hard realities of an imperfect world, our students have learned how to respond and protect our nation's national interests while minimizing the risk and need for armed conflict. We call this approach winning without war. This approach is far from novel. The Chinese strategist Sun Tzu wrote about it more than 2,000 years ago, but it has renewed salience in the 21st century. It involves competition, often fierce competition, in a wide variety of different domains, below the threshold of armed conflict. The winning without war approach makes use of all the arts of statecraft and the integration into national strategy. A partial list of these arts include traditional diplomacy, public diplomacy, strategic influence, intelligence, counterintelligence, economic strategy, cyber strategy, and law enforcement. If these arts of statecraft are to be effective in protecting our country and promoting beneficial relationships with allies and partners, they must work in harmony with one another. If these instruments work in isolation with one another, or worse, at cross purposes with one another, they become far less effective. In these circumstances, it becomes more tempting to turn prematurely to armed force as something other than an instrument of last resort. To achieve harmony among these arts of statecraft, we need strategic thinkers who understand the instruments of power and how they may apply in particular circumstances. Among other things, this requires decision makers and the staffs who advise them have the ability to think through second and third order consequences. Armed with the capacity to think strategically, our students are primed to succeed professionally. But their education would be incomplete without a brief examination of our mission statement in the larger context of life. In their core classes, our students encountered some of the great Western thinkers and compared their ideas with the philosophical origins of other, particularly tyrannical political systems. Notably, our mission statement's emphasis on the American political tradition and Western moral tradition reject relativism, as well as all the moral and cultural confusion that it typically engenders. The importance of our mission statement extends well beyond the IWP campus. Many of our graduates will end up in positions of leadership on the national and international stage. We are confident that their studies of some of the great thinkers in the Western moral tradition will help guide them. Our students as well have examined the philosophical principles that inspired the creation of America and our governmental system, including the idea of God-given rights, human beings as imperfect creatures, and the concept of natural law. Since our graduates often go into positions where they are securing our nation or conducting diplomacy, it is important that they have a deepened understanding and appreciation of the country they are defending and representing. This is not mindless patriotism. Rather, it is mindful or informed patriotism, one that former President Reagan emphasized must be grounded in thoughtfulness and knowledge. Armed with their IWP education, our graduates can and do make a difference in promoting our nation's security. I know this from firsthand experience. While working in the Pentagon as a senior leader, I was fortunate to have a member of the class of 2013 working for me on strategy matters. Superb in every way, he helped write the 2018 National Defense Strategy of the United States. Think about that. A recent IWP grad was one of a very small handful of people who drafted arguably the most consequential document to come out of the Pentagon in many years. Our alumni have also served in many senior positions: as Director of African Affairs at the White House National Security Staff, as Commander of all land forces of NATO, as Senior Director on the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, as Senior Executives at the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the Head of Security at Dell, and many more. Our alumni continue to earn recognition and awards for their hard work. Most recently, one of our graduates received the U.S. Navy Civilian Commendation Medal. Another received the prestigious Counterintelligence Collection Individual Award from the Department of Defense. Another received the Secretary of Defense Exceptional Civilian Service Award, the highest level career award given to the office by the Office of the Secretary of Defense. And the list goes on and on. Past graduates have set the bar high. As new graduates, you must seek to raise it higher still. We hope that the mission of the Institute of the World Politics has ignited in you a passion to continue your education well beyond the seminar room. Going forward, you must remain mission-focused, remembering the value of immersing yourself in a cause greater than yourself. The careerist approach of seeking personal gain above all else may yield material benefits, but they will be short-lived, self-defeating, and have come at a very high cost. The benefits of remaining mission-focused are clear. Here again, the wisdom of antiquity still rings true today. Virtue is its own reward. As a practical matter, moreover, the reputation you developed from your commitment to a higher cause will stimulate a great demand for your expertise and your services. Allow me to close with a quotation from a Roman senator. Cicero once asked, "What greater or better gift can we offer the Republic than to teach and instruct our youth?" His question, of course, was rhetorical. There is no greater gift. Graduates, you have taken the gift of a mission-focused education during your time at the Institute of World Politics. This experience has prepared you to achieve success and become leaders in your chosen fields. We are very proud of what you have accomplished at IWP, and we look forward to seeing what you will accomplish going forward. Congratulations and Godspeed. Thank you.